Dear colleagues, dear friends, dear BOKU alumni, I'm more than happy to welcome you today at the first convention of our International Alumni branch. I'm really delighted to welcome you all at this historical event. Already 10 years ago, we founded the BOKU Alumni Association, bringing together, of course, many specifically Austrian-based university graduates. This Alumni Association, I think, is really very successful. We are approaching about 6,000 alumni in our association, together with the subgroups, the different topical subgroups. However, the international aspect was not in the focus at the beginning, and I think that the activity to develop an international alumni network is a quite timely thing for BOKU to do. And I'm more than happy that I also can warmly welcome Dr. Fischler now. He will deliver a keynote lecture in a quarter of an hour, one of our very prominent alumni. Our university during the last 30 years was really highly dedicated to internationalization, and we have now about 20% of international students, which means that more than 2,000 international non-Austrian based students are studying here. I think we have a very clear strategy. 11 out of 26 master curricula are offered in English now, and I think this is quite attractive, and we see that BOKU is not only attractive for the Austrians but also for many people abroad. The intensification of networking, of course, with our international alumni is a logical consequence. During the last 2 years, we started this initiative to form an international network of BOKU alumni, both to help our international graduates to keep in touch with BOKU and amongst themselves, of course, and to develop a network of information points which could be used by future BOKU students on the one hand, but also by BOKU scientists, which try to develop projects in a certain country. And we needed some need for these activities, so we held the first international alumni convention last year in Ethiopia, and nearly 30 of the 75 alumni in Ethiopia attended the meeting, and the president of this association is also with us. Thank you very much for coming, of course. These workshops there were very successful, and they were a little bit, let's say, they brought us to the idea, why not trying to collect the alumni from different countries and to discuss with them in more detail how we could proceed, what we can do together, and what are your expectations, what are the expectations of BOKU. In Ethiopia, since then, we developed projects of more than €1 million. Yeah? And this is a nice example for how to fostering these connections and how to use them. Today, we bring together a significant number of our international contact persons and also specifically prominent alumni with large international experience. So a warm welcome goes to all the participants, and I just mentioned the countries: Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Canada, Kenya, Luxembourg, Mexico per Skype. I don't know how, is this working? Okay. Mozambique, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, Indonesia, Bhutan, Nepal, and New Zealand, and USA. So I think that's quite a significant list of participants today, a very international list. And as I said, we today want to explore and develop ideas for the future activities. I'm more than happy that so many of you decided to come and meet, and especially welcome again our prominent alumni, Dr. Franz Villa, ex-commissioner of the EU. James Schober unfortunately got ill, but we have his input, so this input will be given by Dr. Margherita Calderon-Peter a little bit later. I would like to thank cordially three persons specifically who organized, who were intensively involved in the organization. So it's our managing director Gudrun Schindler of BOKU Alumni. It's of course the director of the Center of International Relations, Dr. Margherita Calderon-Peter, and Professor Michael Hauser, the director of the Center for Development Research. So specifically to you three, I would like to convey my sincere thanks. And I thank all of you to find your way to Vienna. Some of you had a quite long journey, but I hope you will enjoy not only this day, but also the day tomorrow, as we have tomorrow our alumni convention, the large convention, and I think you have the chance to meet a lot of colleagues, friends, old professors, whatever. So I think this also will be a nice possibility for you. My suggestion is, because we are a little bit too many now for introducing everybody, my suggestion is that during the second session, first now we have the input session, then we have the discussion session, that everybody introduces him or herself with the first statement, a short introduction, and then I think it should be possible that we get to know each other quite nicely. So to prepare for today's workshop, we circulated also some questions among the international alumni regarding needs, expectations, and so on and so forth. And I would like now to make a very short presentation about BOKU, just to show some recent figures. Some of you attended BOKU quite a few years ago, so maybe a short update. And also I would like to show some of the results from this survey, which was organized by Margherita Calderon. So just one slide with the figures. 10 years ago we had about 4,300 students, now we have about 12,200, so we tripled within 10 years, which is not so easy to do. We have now about 8 bachelor, 26 master studies, 11 of the programs, of the master programs are in English, so I think it's internationalization is really a topic here at BOKU, and this is the largest portion of curricula of all universities in Austria, just to show that our internationalization strategy really is successful. So I already said we had about 20% foreign students. We are also in the rankings, because in the newspapers you always see the universities, the Austrian universities do not show up in the rankings, so this is not completely true. Of course, we are a small university, so it's not so easy for us, but since 2 years now we are also in this QS World University ranking by subject for agriculture and forestry, so we are on ranks 33, and if you compare the other universities, then you see that Yale is, we are better than Yale, than British Columbia, than the SLU in Uppsala, for instance, so because I think you will know this university. So I think it's not too bad. Yeah, in the newspapers you find different comments, of course. Okay, in the Green University ranking we are also quite in the leading position. So we are in the first place in the German-speaking world. We are in the second place worldwide in teaching with respect to sustainability. So I think this is also maybe interesting information for you. So we have at present nearly 2,600 employees. 700 to 800 scientists are employed on a project basis, more than 200 professors. The full professorships were increased in the last 5 years during my rectorship from 54 to 75 about. Yeah. So a lot of projects, of course, also in excellent programs. Also, we have 2 ERC grant holders at BOKU at present. And of course, a lot of external resources, so that's quite important for us to maintain a very high level of project funding. Otherwise, the university would not work any longer. Yeah. That means only with the General University Fund, it's not possible to maintain our activities. Yeah, we have also a quite significant number of publications, and we are nowadays organized in 15 departments. Since 2004, for those who left the university already longer time ago. Here just to see the development of the student numbers. Yeah. So it's, I would say, unfortunately, it's still linear, yeah, because now we are really getting into troubles. We have 2014 again an increase in the first enrollment students. We have now in biotechnology in the first semester 560 students, which is nearly impossible to be handled because of all the laboratory work and so on and so forth. So it's, and we are approaching already a quite critical level now. Incoming students, yeah, they come from all over the world. That's clear. So here just the international master programs we offer in the moment. All the core competencies of BOKU are more or less present here. So from agricultural topics, limnology, which we have together with Kenya and with Netherlands, yeah, for instance, and you can see all the important topics somehow are reflected here: safety in the food chain, sustainability, viticulture. This is new since October, together with Geisenheim. Some of you might know this university in Germany, which is dedicated only to viticulture and pomology. Okay, so this is what we offer. Here just also a map of the co-authorships of BOKU publications, so that you see that we are also quite internationally in this research cooperation. Of course, most of the co-publications are from Europe, that's clear. The EU projects, many EU projects, but you see that there is also quite a strong, really strong interaction with other countries. We have focus regions in internationalization. So it's in Europe, it's Eastern and Southeastern Europe, in Asia, Southeast Asia, China, and the Himalaya region. We are also thinking about Central Asia to foster that, and of course East Africa is well known as a specific region for BOKU, for interaction, but also Central and Southeastern South America. We have a lot of university networks where we not only taking part, but partly also in leading positions, like for the CASI network for Central and Southeastern Europe, or in ICA, the European Association of Life Science Universities, or the DRC, the Daniel Brechters Conference. For the sites, people like me, they studied here at Türkenschanze, and there was no other site. So in the 90s, Mutgasse was the next site to be opened, and 1994 also Tulln, the Institute of Agrobiotechnology. And we have these 3 sites, these 3 larger sites, and we call it the 4th site, the research farms and forests. Most of them are already quite old, so you will know them. No need for further explanation. So I see here now we have still an old photo. I should change it immediately because we opened yesterday this renewed building. Yeah. That's why we are here, and I hope you enjoy a little bit this nice environment here. Yeah. we are at present renovating our main building. You can see that that we will gain another 850 square meters of space on top of the Liebig house, and a lot of other things are done. So the 30 million euro are running only into this complex there, and some of you might not know the Schwackhöf house. This was the old roast house. Yeah, so this is the roast house, but renewed. And 2004 we could take it into use again, and it's now a very nice building. My own institute, soil research, is also located now there. Exner House, you know, the rectorate and administration is mainly located in Ziesler House. Simoni House, we are at present. At Mutgasse, there is also something new. 2009, we opened this third building here on the other side of the Mutgasse. So this complex was opened 91 and 95, the two buildings, and this was opened 2009. So this is, and here in Tulln, this is IFA Tulln, which we opened 94, and this is now the University and Research Center Tulln, which we opened 2011. This is another 20,000 square meter buildings, and in a fantastic research greenhouse and many facilities. And we use this together with the Austrian Institute of Technology. That means with those people which are close to our topics, so environment, water, research, and genetics specifically. So they joined us there. So they use 40%, we use 60% of these buildings together. Yeah, and of course the research farms and forest. What was considerably developed during the last years is also the so-called Wassercluster Lunz. We took over the so-called Biologische Station Lunz from the Austrian Academy of Sciences. So they didn't want to deal with that further. So we have now also these old buildings here, but we have also very nice new buildings in Lund. So we have also this very interesting research cluster on water research. So this was some achievements during the last years. So we have now 2 ERC grant holders. We have 3 doctoral schools, one together, for instance, also international with the Nanchang Technological University in Singapore. We founded the Center for Development Research. The head is here. We founded the Central and Southeastern European Association of Life Science Universities, and we founded in Austria, Bioscience Austria, which is quite unique because it's an association of BOKU, the Veterinary Medicine University, and the whole Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Environment and Water Management, with all the institutions. That means the Federal Environment Agency and the Forest Research Institute, and so on and so forth, which is from the strategic point very important. So this I already told you, so this is not new anymore. And I come to the Alumni Survey. Many thanks for all of you who took part in this survey. I think this was quite important. Pardon. Thank you. So we did not get too many questionnaires completed, but at least we got some indications. You can see it here. So here's the specific expectations. You see that there are different expectations without going into too much detail between the English speaking and the German speaking alumni. Of course, I would not say that this is significant, but that there is, because of the number of surveys completed, but at least there is some indication. So everybody thinks it's very important that we have networking events. The idea of a web stream of events organized at BOKU so that the alumni can follow through the internet. I think we already started with that, for instance, today. So I think this is something we can also do quite readily. We will talk about that in the afternoon. Platform for finding partners for projects, research, educational projects seems to be important. And newsletter informing about BOKU developments seems to be also quite important for the German speaking as of German-based people. Also, the Career Service Center seems to be important. So there were, and this is now just the result of this survey in short. So 12 people said, okay, we want to meet alumni and share experiences. The corporations, we had this 5 opportunity to meet former professors, BOKU management, and so on. So this is less important. And this was now the question: what is the possible benefit of the International Alumni Network for BOKU? So the other way around. And here you see some similar things. So the networking is again the first point here, but also to increase BOKU's visibility, to use the experience to develop the International Alumni Network, also to get feedback for strategies. I think that's very important, and some other aspects here. The next question was, how could BOKU's International Alumni Network be promoted in the country you are currently living in? And here we got also some indications. So, for instance, setting up a country-specific alumni network, as we did in Ethiopia. I think this will not be possible for all the countries, because then there is a need to have a minimum of alumni in the country, so that you can organize that, but we can discuss that later. To inform BOKU about similar universities in the country, so to share personal contacts, but also to meet with all Austrian universities alumni, so not only restricting ourselves to BOKU, but also to other universities in the respective countries. So dissemination of offers from BOKU could be also quite important. And then there was the question, what contribution could you make? So what do you think that it's possible that you can bring in? And here you see that specifically promotion of the BOKU Alumni Network, many of those who completed the survey thinks that this is possible, this would be possible to act as a national contact point for dissemination of information. Some think they would also organize events for other BOKU alumni in your country, so that's specifically for those who are more abroad than the others, because the more German-based people, they think, okay, maybe we can also join the meetings here at BOKU. That's what I think, or this would be my interpretation. Yeah. And to support the national contact point in organizing events was also an important answer. And what should BOKU do to support the alumni national contact points? So there's one very important point: to introduce them to the Austrian embassy, so that they have some recognition in the respective country. I think that's very important. And of course, regularly send BOKU news for further dissemination, and also, for instance, to this yearly meeting was very well received here, and also maybe to offer regular Skype sessions as contact hours for open questions, so in order to support the work in the different countries. And then there were also a lot of additional suggestions. visiting professors from BOKU should present BOKU and International BOKU Alumni Network. BOKU promotional flyers in English, but also maybe in French, should be sent to the alumni. The support of the focal points was already mentioned. Work with partner universities to promote joint research. That's what we are doing already, but I think this can be further fostered. We can further foster the staff and students exchange, of course, also with the help of the alumni network. And we will have a specific talk today about the ESCINA, Austrian Science Talk, about this network. I'm very happy that Dr. Ertl will join us and give us this information today, and we will discuss how we can use it for our network. Yeah, what could the International BOKU Alumni Contact Person do? I think this is just now, again, what you have already seen mainly in the graphs. So I will make it a little bit shorter. Any other comments? There should be regular alumni network meetings. Of course, we should try to increase BOKU's international reputation. I think we are on this way, but I think still a lot can be done. Another point which is really very important, but we are not very far, to translate BOKU's German and English webpage in other international languages. This is not easy, because the problem is you have to the web page has to stay really with the latest information, and that's not so easy to achieve. A Facebook group should be installed, and yeah, okay, was a very, very personal comment also. So this was my introduction to today's workshop, and I tried just to give you a little bit of information about the status of BOKU today, and also from this survey also as a certain input for the discussions which will be led then by specifically Michael Hauser and Margarita Calderon-Peter a little bit later. So I now would like to introduce to you Dr. Franz Villa. I'm very happy that he agreed to be with us and to give us also some input now for the further discussions. He was not only Minister of Agriculture here in Austria, but he was Commissioner for Agriculture at the European Commission for 2 periods. So he has a lot of experience internationally, and he is at present the president of the European Forum Alpbach. I think one of the largest international events in Austria, yearly events in Austria with respect to science, but also to development of society and contact between students, scientists, politicians, and people from economy. So that's, I think, a very important activity, also for some foresight thinking and discussions. So, Dr. Fischler, it's your turn.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, also from my side. I hope you feel like me. It's always nice to be back at the alma mater viridis after a shorter or longer while. And as you have heard from our rector, my task is now to give a short introduction in relation to sustainability and the role of an international alumni network. As you can see, my acronym I'm using shows how important the International BOKU Alumni Network would be. It is as important as your banking connection. Yeah? And I think this is a good hint about the substance of this international connecting, and about the benefits we can all reap of that. So, why is sustainability so important? This is mainly because our traditional international approach for our economy and for our social communities was questioned when we had the crisis towards the end of the last decade, and it became clear that the neoliberal approach would not be the leading approach anymore in the world, and therefore everybody started to think about alternatives, and the real alternative, in my view, and this is, by the way, also the European view, is sustainability. So at the same time, this sustainability approach is a response to a more and more globalized world. I think it is not necessary that I explain to you what sustainability means. I guess you all know that, and I guess you are very familiar with the fact that the Brundtland Commission for the first time made a definition saying that we need a balance between economy, ecology, and social responsibility. But what is maybe less known is the fact that in the meantime, with the Lisbon Treaty, the European Union identified this sustainability approach as the leading principle for the European Union in the future. In the Article 3 of the Lisbon Treaty, which has the headline Goals of the European Union, it is exactly this approach mentioned. You can see in the text of this article that the European Union works towards this balance between the market economy, the social responsibility, and also the responsibility for our environment. But there's always a but in Europe. The problem is that we in Europe are usually rather good when it comes to the question to develop a certain model and a certain set of objectives, but we are less good when it comes to the implementation side. And here the first try, so to say, to implement these sustainability goals was in the last decade, the so-called Lisbon strategy, and to be honest, this strategy failed. And now for the ongoing decade, there's a new strategy in place which is called the EU 2020 strategy. We will have already next year midterm of the implementation period of this strategy, and unfortunately it is to say that we haven't advanced very much from where we started in 2010. The idea would be to have to each of these three dimensions of sustainability a set of more specific goals, and to have also quantified goals so that you can measure more easily whether you achieve the goals or not. And the President of the European Commission, Mr. Barroso, summarized this set of goals with three qualifications of growth. He's all the time speaking about smart, inclusive, and green growth. And this is what it is. Here it is mentioned the main policies which relate to these three qualifications of growth, and this is what we would like to achieve. I must say we are meeting here at the right moment, I would say, because next year is really a crucial year for the international community, not only for Europe, to make progress in the direction of how to achieve a more sustainable world. there will be a midterm review in Europe about this EU 2020 strategy, and we will see how much, or maybe more correct, how little progress we made so far. But there's also, there are altogether 3 international big conferences going to happen next year. The first one in Addis Abeba, where there should be a kind of new treaty, international treaty about the financing of development worldwide. Then, most important, in New York, in most likely in September, in the beginning of September, there will be this sustainability summit, because as you maybe know, the UN decided 10 years ago, no, 14 years ago now, that the so-called Millennium Goals, yeah, and the implementation period of these Millennium Goals is 15 years, so it comes to an end next year. You know, I'm sure you know at least the most important Millennium Goals, for example, halving the number of people which are malnourished, and to achieve that each child has at least the possibility to have a primary school education, and so on and so forth. But the implementation period runs out next year, and the question therefore is, what should follow? And it is already decided that the next set of international goals for the world should be a set of sustainability goals. And the final decision on that will be made in September next year in New York. And finally, there will be then, towards the fall of the year, in December, there will be the climate change conference in Paris. And this climate change conference is really the last opportunity to make progress in relation to how to deal with the consequences of climate change. So it is a good opportunity, because it's always good to have a kind of impetus to focus more on this issue of sustainability. But at the same time, it is a matter of fact that sustainability is not something which is quasi one-dimensional. It is something which is multidimensional. It is not only the 3 dimensions of economy, ecology, and social dimension. It is, for example, there is also the question of the cultural impact. There are many other aspects related to this sustainability issue, and therefore automatically it is very complex, it is very interdisciplinary, and it is really very difficult to be managed. So the problem is you cannot concentrate on one element of this. You have to concentrate how you can develop the whole system. And therefore, everybody in the meantime is in the scientific world, but also in the political world, is speaking about holistic solutions. And this is quite an effort, and this is quite a challenge. And more and more experts are speaking about the fact that how to deal with complexity is the main challenge of the 21st century. But to be realistic, the best way to deal with complex systems is you work together. You bring together the different experts, the different views. You work as a group. Only in that way you will achieve what you would like to achieve. And this is really something where one can say that the BOKU is best suited to deal with these different aspects in relation to sustainability. The BOKU has the necessary basic research, has the necessary natural science knowledge, but also technology knowledge. It is an applied science university, is dealing also with economics, is dealing also with social and political aspects. So in my view, the BOKU has very good conditions about the future, and this is maybe one of the reasons why it is so attractive at the moment, because the younger generation, they have a feeling in this respect. They feel that there is something necessary and that there must be some changes and new thinking, and only in that way we will master our difficulties of the world. And I think we could also profit or benefit from this situation. So, as I said, if we would like to deal successfully with holistic approaches, we need interconnections, we need teamwork, we need networking. And the network, the International BOKU Alumni Network, will provide, as the rector told us, access to information, will provide knowledge about sciences or scientific analysis, will provide contacts, and allows us to exchange our views, our experiences from all over the world, and in that way we can add more and more to common solutions. So I would argue that networking is, so to say, a new form of neighborhood. We all know how important in the traditional villages neighborhood was. And I would argue that networking is the way how you have your neighborhood in the global village. Because in the global village, you can establish a neighborhood policy or a neighborhood as such only if you are connected not only with, with the next farmhouse, but also with the rest of the world. And I think this gives a good picture what it is all about. And therefore I can only say, let's do it. And let's discuss how to do it. Thank you.
So many thanks for this really nice introduction, specifically an introduction which also relates to, let's say, the future needs of society, sustainability, and how BOKU could further contribute to this very important topic. Just want to mention that we, during the last 1.5 years, we worked on a strategy for sustainability for BOKU, and there will be quite a lot of specific points now in the new development plan of BOKU, which is at present at the Senate for discussion and should be released then in December after the university board has agreed on it. So we are now, we have our second input. Unfortunately, as I said, that James Schober is ill. We just got this information yesterday, and I'd like to ask Margarita now to speak on his behalf.
Yeah, for time reasons, I would suggest that I summarize the first 2 pages of the handouts of his speech that you also have in your maps that you have received at the registration, and then I will read out his conclusions because they are really important and give good ideas, I think. So Mr. Schober started his studies at BOKU 30 years ago and enrolled in the area of environmental engineering, where he's working now at Donauchemie. And He mentions that during his years at BOKU, there was little talk of internationalization or globalization. As he says, uncharted territories would start, at least from the Viennese point of view, right at the outskirts of our beautiful town. So he thinks that intercultural communication at that time at BOKU means that there was already intercultural training between the groups of students from Tyrol, Salzburg, and Carinthia who came here, who were joined and united in their feeling of rejection of Vienna or everything that was Viennese. And those regional students had the idea that Vienna was a temporarily but necessary evil, which had to be accepted like a purgatory in order to obtain a higher professional rank in the native province. And as Mr. Schober was a Viennese and therefore part of the purgatory, he says he was as popular as the latter. So, he said the ban broke only in his third semester here when, by mistake, during an excursion, he checked into the room of a Tyrolean colleague. And then this Tyrolean colleague apparently found out that the Viennese guy was a likable lad, so then he managed to interact also with the Tyrolean colleagues. Mr. Schober then explains that due to the internationalization and globalization of the trade with goods and services, production structures had to be adapted constantly so that the companies can stand their ground on the markets. And he explains that clusters emerged in the area of technology, environment, mechatronic, and IT. And in his opinion, the importance of regional production clusters have been declining in favor of knowledge clusters and will diminish further. But this is an entirely different matter. He then comes back to a remark of one of his colleagues in a cluster who had a rather pessimistic view, as he said, the Austrians are not up to working with clusters. They form strategic alliances, but in the end it is not the common success which matters, but only their own one. Mr. Schober is working for Donauchemie, which is, as you know, owned by a French family of industrials, and he also explains one experience that was striking to him because one day he was called by the CEO's secretary of a French electronic company who invited him to a meeting in Budapest. And to his surprise, when he arrived there, there was not only this CEO from the French electronic company, but there was a kind of who is who of the French business world. They were all active in the Hungarian market. And regardless of the industrial branch they were working for, they had grouped together in order to represent French economic interests abroad. This slogan was sufficient for them to launch a dynamic process and to emphasize the importance of the meeting. And Mr. Schober thinks that this is a crucial, different approach that should be kept in mind when thinking about our activities. And now I want to read out his conclusions because I think they are really good ideas for our meeting today. What do those considerations from an admittedly personal point of view mean for the prospects and challenges in building up an international alumni network? Let me start by pointing out, I consider this approach as useful, reasonable, and long overdue. If this meeting weren't to remain a polite exchange of courtesies, I think it important to pay attention to the following issues. Crossing barriers while preserving the own identity. Networks will operate successfully only when we can overcome those cultural barriers which run in our minds. It is though essential that we approach each other with an open mind and to accept our partners at the same level. This should not lead, though, to abandon one's own identity in favor of external requirements. We can only remain an important ambassador of our idea while remaining faithful to our regional authenticity. Second, a methodical approach. Clear objectives and systematic and methodical processes should always be at the beginning of structural networking. Scientific insights from the field of communication theory will be fundamental, such as how to establish, cultivate, and work on those contacts on long term. It will be important, too, to define measurable objectives. although I am aware that this is not always easy, in particular in the area of communication. To breathe life into the network by your personal commitment is the third idea. However, methodical and systematic we are, even highly sophisticated networks will only then be viable if each individual member commits himself. This includes that we truly identify with the cause and believe in the personal meaning, success and advantage. There is nothing immoral to it, but this is one of the fundamental principles of institutional networking. I am going to give something in order to get, in an ideal world, more in return. And with this in mind, I wish us all much success for implementing our idea. Thank you.